Welcome back to the deep dive. When you really observe nature, true evolution, the kind that ensures survival, it rarely happens with a grand trumpet-blasting announcement. It's more often found in the silent, persistent twist of a vine reaching for a new patch of sunlight, maybe, or the subtle, almost imperceptible shift in a fox's hunting hours as the climate subtly warms around its den. In these intricate ecosystems, adaptability isn't just a choice, it's an imperative. It's woven into the very fabric of existence, a continuous, quiet retuning. And yet, when we turn our attention to national strategies, especially for something as, profoundly transformative as artificial intelligence, the language often shifts dramatically. We hear grand phrases that do trumpet dominance, speak of a new renaissance, or declare technological supremacy. And look, while those are certainly ambitions worth pursuing, they prompt a deeper, more fundamental question. Are our people, our communities, our workforce, our very institutions evolving and adapting in sync with the breathtaking technology we're building? Are we so focused on launching powerful rockets into the future that we risk forgetting to train the astronauts, to prepare the ground crews, to ensure the entire human ecosystem is ready for the journey? That's the critical riddle we're tackling today. Our mission for this deep dive is a thorough, critical analysis of a really significant document, the America's AI Action Plan, which was published just this July of 2025. This plan isn't a minor policy tweak. It lays out the country's comprehensive vision for AI-led progress across crucial areas like foundational infrastructure, accelerated innovation, and strategic international positioning. It's a robust blueprint for the machines, no doubt. But what we want to uncover is, where's the human route? How well does this ambitious plan account for the most vital, yet often overlooked component of any major societal transformation, our collective human capacity to adapt and thrive?
And that precisely is where the Human Adaptability and Potential Index, or HAPI, enters the conversation. You can truly think of HAPI as more than just a set of metrics. It's a vital, dynamic compass for policymakers. It pushes beyond merely asking if a nation can innovate, which, while important, is only one piece of the puzzle. Instead, HAPI poses a much more profound human-centric question. Can its people truly keep pace? Can they not just survive, but actively evolve, flourish, and genuinely harness the immense potential of this new AI era, rather than being overwhelmed or left behind by it?
So API is really about the human side of the equation.
Exactly. The HAPI framework measures several crucial dimensions of human potential that are directly applicable to how a society responds to monumental change. We're talking about cognitive flexibility, which is our collective ability to rethink assumptions, to learn, and to pivot our understanding with agility. Then there's emotional resilience, our capacity as individuals and as a society to manage stress, to stay motivated during adversity, and to maintain our composure amidst profound uncertainty. Next is behavioral shift, which is about how quickly we can fundamentally alter our actions, our workflows, and our habits when new demands arise.
Okay.
We also examine social collaboration, our aptitude for working effectively together across diverse backgrounds, new teams, and shifting societal norms. And perhaps most importantly, we look at growth potential, which encapsulates a nation's ambition, its learning trajectory, its collective grit, and the robust infrastructure it puts in place to turn latent possibility into kinetic achievement for all its citizens.
5 key dimensions then: cognitive, emotional, behavioral, social, and growth potential.
That's right. So our mission today is to thoroughly evaluate this newly published AI action plan through the unique lens of each of these APPI dimensions. We're going to pinpoint exactly where the plan truly shines, highlighting those opportunities and good steps that are already being taken, the foundational strengths upon which we can build. But we'll also candidly identify where it falls short, uncovering critical gaps and offering grounded, actionable recommendations. The overarching goal here is not to criticize for the sake of it, but to illustrate how the HAPI framework helps us navigate this incredibly complex landscape. It's about recognizing that any step forward in this journey is a good step, and HAPI simply helps us see how to make those steps even better, more human-centric, and ultimately more sustainable for the entire nation.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because in the AI age, survival doesn't just go to the strongest or the smartest. It goes overwhelmingly to the most adaptable. All right, let's kick things off with our very first dimension, cognitive adaptability. This asks a fundamental question. Can policy, and by extension the people affected by it, truly think on its feet, adjust understanding, and learn at the pace of technological change? There's that legendary Chinese tale of the Monkey King, Sun Wukong. He certainly gained unimaginable power, immense strength from his training, sure. But what truly made him a formidable force, what allowed him to navigate impossible challenges and ultimately win, wasn't just his brute power. It was his unparalleled cunning, His innate ability to outthink change itself, to rethink every assumption, to strategize on the fly, and to constantly absorb new information from a dynamic environment.
That's a truly perfect analogy. Cognitive adaptability in the HAPI framework is precisely that. It's the intrinsic ability of a system, whether it's an individual, an organization, or a national policy, to rethink deeply held assumptions, to bravely reframe complex challenges, and to learn with the agility of a mind not rigidly married to yesterday's wisdom. It's foundational. Before we even begin to build AI-powered futures, we absolutely need to ask if our national policies and the entire governmental and societal systems they govern possess the mental flexibility required to navigate the profound unknown that AI introduces.
Right. Can they pivot rapidly when new data emerges? Can they absorb new insights?
Exactly, at an unprecedented pace. In essence, a policy document itself, through its provisions, its language, and its underlying philosophy, can either foster this intellectual agility or inadvertently stifle it.
So given that critical definition, how does America's AI action plan score on this crucial front of cognitive adaptability?
For cognitive adaptability, the plan score is a solid 13 out of 15.
13.
Which is certainly a strong start, reflecting an acute awareness of the need for intellectual agility in the face of rapid AI evolution.
That's a pretty strong start right out of the beat.
Mm.
What specific mechanisms or language in the plan gave it such a robust mark in terms of thinking on its feet? Can you give us a tangible example of how this mental elasticity actually looks on paper?
Absolutely. One of its greatest strengths is its explicit embracing of innovation at the core. The plan doesn't just mention innovation, it practically opens with a bold declaration stating that AI will drive nothing short of a new American renaissance.
That's big language.
It is. This isn't just dry technical prose, it reads like an intellectual manifesto, a clear declaration that the government understands we're not merely building new tools, we're fundamentally crafting entirely new paradigms, new ways of thinking and operating across society. For instance, Section 2.1.3 explicitly outlines a dedicated $500 million grant program for academic institutions to develop new open-source AI models, and it mandates new partnerships with DARPA for frontier research into self-correcting AI systems. This commitment really underscores a strong appetite for cognitive experimentation at a national level. It shows an awareness that the ground is shifting, and policy needs to shift with it.
And building on that, the emphasis on open weight models and compute fluidity really stands out as a sign of forward thinking. Instead of locking into proprietary AI models or fixed, centralized computing infrastructure, the plan strategically promotes a marketplace of compute access and flexible frameworks for open weight AI development. For listeners, open weight models essentially mean AI models whose internal workings, their code, and their training parameters are fully transparent and accessible to everyone.
Right.
And compute fluidity refers to the ability to easily access and switch between different computing resources, whether cloud-based or on-premises, without being tied down.
Yeah, and this approach is mental elasticity in action. It reflects a deep understanding that in a rapidly evolving field like AI, knowledge needs to be portable, testable, and reconfigurable by anyone. It's about not being tied down to one way of thinking or one set of tools, allowing for dynamic learning and adaptation as new insights and breakthroughs emerge from a diverse pool of innovators.
So it encourages that agility.
Precisely. And the establishment of AI centers of excellence and regulatory sandboxes further reinforces this proactive stance. These aren't just bureaucratic boxes or theoretical constructs. They are practical, tangible initiatives that reflect a profound desire for policy to test, iterate, and learn in real time, rather than simply dictating from above with rigid rules. For example, the plan proposes the establishment of 5 new AI centers of excellence, co-located within major research universities, specifically tasked with piloting novel regulatory approaches through AI sandboxes outlined in Appendix B.
Sandboxes, so safe spaces to try things out.
Essentially, yes. These sandboxes allow companies to test new AI applications under relaxed or modified regulations for a limited time, providing crucial feedback on what works and what doesn't. This allows policy to become a true learning lab. When policy functions as a living entity that can grow, adapt, and evolve alongside the very technology it governs, it fosters a vital culture of continuous learning and cognitive flexibility within the governmental structure itself. That's a massive step forward.
So it sounds like there's a lot of promise there, a strong foundation for thinking on its feet. But a 13 out of 15 means there's still room for improvement, areas where the plan might inadvertently hinder cognitive agility. Where does it fall short in terms of adapting its understanding?
Well, one key area is what we see as a potential for ideological rigidity in model evaluation. While the plan rightly emphasizes ensuring AI reflects American values and aims to avoid ideological bias, particularly from foreign adversaries, there's a risk of overcorrecting here.
How so?
Because cognitive adaptability fundamentally requires embracing discomfort, wrestling with complexity, and actively seeking out truly diverse viewpoints, not curating truth through narrow filters or predefined dogma. For instance, Section 4.1.2 mandates a values alignment certification for all government-deployed AI. Now, that's well-intentioned, of course,
Sure.
but it could become a bottleneck if interpreted too narrowly. If we become too prescriptive about what constitutes correct values in AI, we might inadvertently stifle the very open exploration, intellectual freedom, and critical thinking that drives genuine innovation and adaptation. It's an incredibly delicate balance to strike between protecting foundational principles and maintaining intellectual openness.
That's a really important point. It's easy for a well-meaning effort to protect values to slip into unintentional dogmatism, especially in a rapidly evolving field. What else did you notice as a significant gap in cognitive adaptability?
Another significant gap is what we've identified as an underinvestment in policy learning infrastructure. While the plan champions AI innovation outside government, encouraging rapid advancements in industry and academia, it conspicuously lacks an explicit, detailed roadmap for fostering continuous learning within policymaking itself.
So, learning for everyone else, but not necessarily for the policymakers.
Well, it's not explicitly laid out. For example, there's no mention of a dedicated policy intelligence unit or an adaptive governance lab tasked with systematically monitoring global AI policy developments and synthesizing lessons learned for federal agencies. Where are the clear, real-time feedback loops for the government to adapt its own understanding based on the actual outcomes and unintended consequences of its policies?
Right, where's the dashboard?
Exactly. Where's the dynamic dashboard that tells us what's actually working in terms of policy effectiveness and what isn't, enabling rapid course correction? Without these robust internal learning mechanisms, even the best intentions and the most ambitious policy goals can be hampered by outdated information, slow adaptation, and institutional blind spots.
Okay, so internal learning infrastructure is lacking. Anything else?
Finally, there's a noticeable lack of clear, specific metrics for agility built into the plan's evaluation framework. The plan rightly emphasizes innovation and technological output, which are excellent goals. However, innovation without built-in reflection and rapid course correction is often just a fast treadmill,
Yeah.
burning energy without truly advancing.
Running in place.
The plan could significantly benefit from defining adaptive metrics beyond traditional economic indicators. For instance, measuring how quickly AI-related policies are updated in response to emerging risks or unforeseen societal impacts. Or tracking how rapidly new scientific insights from cutting-edge AI research translate into tangible policy shifts or revised regulatory frameworks. Without these granular adaptive metrics, it's incredibly difficult to truly gauge if the policy system itself is genuinely becoming more cognitively adaptable over time, or if it's merely performing well on static measures while lagging on dynamic ones.
So we've got a good understanding of the plan's cognitive strengths, the innovation focus, open model sandboxes and its current gaps, potential rigidity, lack of internal learning structures, no agility metrics. How do we bridge those gaps and improve the plan's cognitive adaptability even further, making it truly capable of learning faster than the problem evolves?
We have several key recommendations. First, we urge the establishment of a National Policy Agility Office within the Office of Science and Technology Policy, OSTP. Its primary purpose would be to systematically evaluate how effectively various government departments are adapting their internal processes, decision-making frameworks, and intellectual capital in response to AI-induced change. This office wouldn't just observe, it would actively manage and champion adaptation, ensuring it's a proactive pursuit, not just a reactive hope.
An actual office dedicated to policy agility.
Okay. Second, we strongly advocate for instituting quarterly policy reflection reviews. This borrows a crucial page from Agile methodology, which has proven so effective in software development.
Like Agile for policy.
Exactly. This would mean that AI-related initiatives and policies are not set in stone, but are actively iterated and refined based on real-world feedback, emerging data, and new insights gathered every 3 months. This allows for continuous improvement and course correction rather than waiting for years to make necessary adjustments, which is far too slow for the pace of AI.
Quarterly reviews, that feels much faster.
And third, we recommend robustly funding public foresight labs. These labs would be specifically designed and resourced to simulate various potential AI-related disruptions, be they economic, social, geopolitical, or even existential, to rigorously test how current and proposed policy frameworks hold up under extreme strain. This proactive, simulation-based approach would greatly enhance our collective cognitive flexibility by anticipating challenges and building preemptive policy responses rather than waiting for crises to unfold.
So what does this all mean for cognitive adaptability? It sounds like it's not about having all the answers right now, which is frankly an impossible ask in the AI age.
No, absolutely not.
Instead, it's about establishing robust, systemic mechanisms for learning faster than the problem evolves. The America's AI Action Plan shows significant promise here, which is an excellent foundational step, but it absolutely needs robust scaffolding. Those dedicated systems that can sense emerging trends, reflect on their implications, and fundamentally learn and adapt at the blistering pace of change itself.
Precisely. Because in the AI age, it will be brains, not just brute computational brawn, that ultimately win the race. A nation's true power will lie in its capacity for collective intellectual agility.
Moving on to our next crucial dimension, we're talking about emotional adaptability. This dimension asks a profound question. Can policy, and crucially the people it serves, truly stay calm, motivated, and resilient in the face of the chaos and uncertainty that rapid technological transformation inevitably brings? I'm reminded of that fantastic, almost legendary anecdote about Michael Faraday in 1831. He had just demonstrated the basic principles of electromagnetism, a truly revolutionary concept that baffled many, including the political elite. When a skeptical British Chancellor of the Exchequer asked him what practical use this strange, seemingly abstract force had, Faraday, cool as a cucumber, with absolute unflappable composure, quipped, "One day, sir, you may tax it."
Huh. Yes.
That's the kind of emotional composure we need in an AI-driven world, cool under immense pressure, unflustered by profound uncertainty, and capable of seeing long-term possibility where others see only immediate disruption or chaos.
That story perfectly encapsulates it. Emotional adaptability within the API framework measures a system's innate ability to effectively manage stress, to stay deeply motivated during prolonged adversity, and to remain fundamentally resilient under conditions of pervasive uncertainty. When we apply this specifically to a national policy, especially something as potentially disruptive as an AI strategy, it reflects how well leaders can anticipate, acknowledge, and ultimately regulate the emotional impact of this transformation on a nation's entire workforce, its social fabric, and its core institutions.
So the policy itself can either soothe or stir anxiety.
In essence, yes. Through its language, its explicit provisions, and its underlying priorities, it can either calm the waters and instill confidence or inadvertently stir the anxieties and fears of its people. How well is this plan preparing people emotionally for the inevitable turbulence of the AI journey?
So how does America's AI Action Plan measure up in terms of emotional adaptability?
Here, the score is a 9 out of 15.
9. Okay, definitely lower.
It's certainly lower than cognitive adaptability, suggesting significant room for growth in this vital area.
A noticeably lower score here. What's the story behind that? Where does it show some promise, acknowledging the human element, but also where does it fundamentally fall short in addressing the emotional landscape of AI adoption?
Well, on the promise side, the plan certainly acknowledges worker disruption, which is a critical first step. It doesn't shy away from the stark reality that AI will bring emotional turbulence, significant job shifts, new and demanding skill requirements, and structural uncertainty across various industries.
So it sees the problem.
It acknowledges it. The explicit mention of initiatives like rapid retraining programs, such as the $300 million earmarked for AI-focused upskilling through community colleges in Section 3.1.2, and the establishment of an AI workforce research hub within the Department of Labor, are definite signs that the architects of this plan are reading the emotional weather report. They are anticipating the profound human impact of AI, which is a good initial step towards acknowledging and preparing for the emotional landscape.
Okay, that's good.
Furthermore, the plan's robust investments in upskilling and education act as a form of long-term emotional buffering. By strategically emphasizing fundamental AI literacy for youth, introducing AI curricula into K-12 education, and providing skilled trades training, the plan is proactively preparing people to feel less threatened and more empowered by AI. When you equip individuals with new knowledge, relevant capabilities, and a sense of agency over their professional development, you inherently reduce their anxiety about potential job displacement and foster a crucial sense of control over their professional futures.
So education builds confidence confidence, reduces fear.
Exactly. That's a vital seed of emotional resilience being planted at a societal level.
And the inclusion of tax incentives for private sector training also seems like a smart, practical move that addresses a tangible barrier.
It does.
By directly removing financial barriers for companies to train their workers in AI-related roles. For example, the guidance issued under Section 132 of the IRS Code that allows for expanded deductions for AI-related employee education, the plan reduces a significant source of emotional friction during these transitions.
Absolutely. It's an indirect but profoundly meaningful signal that the government understands that motivation and morale among the workforce truly matter. It shows an awareness that supporting the human element financially can make a big difference emotionally, easing the burden of adaptation.
Okay, so these are all positive steps, acknowledging the challenge, but clearly not enough for a high score. Where do the significant gaps emerge, leading to that 9 out of 15?
Well, this is precisely where the significant gaps emerge. The plan strikingly lacks direct, explicit support for psychological resilience. While retraining is mentioned, there's a surprising absence of details on, say, dedicated funding for mental health services, mandatory stress reduction workshops for workers in industries most impacted by automation, or robust mental wellness programs integrated into transition support.
So skills, yes, but coping mechanisms, no.
Largely, yes. These are absolutely critical in a world where AI may shift job expectations weekly, leading to unprecedented levels of stress and burnout. Emotional adaptability isn't just about acquiring new skills. It's profoundly about keeping human spirits unbroken, ensuring people can cope psychologically with the unrelenting pace of change.
That seems like a major oversight.
It feels significant. Another is the almost complete absence of language around psychological safety in the workplace. There's no mention of fostering environments where employees feel secure enough to experiment, to ask questions, to admit mistakes, or to adapt at their own pace without fear of reprisal or job loss.
Which is key for innovation too, right?
Absolutely. Psychological safety is a widely known, proven driver of both innovation and adaptability. When employees don't feel safe to fail or to voice their concerns about AI implementation, emotional agility withers. Instead, fear can reign, which actively stifles the very creativity, learning, and resilience we desperately need in an AI-driven economy. The plan focuses on technical safety but overlooks human emotional safety.
And what about the overall tone of the document itself? You mentioned language earlier. Does that play a role in emotional adaptability?
A very significant one. We observe that the plan's top-down tone often lacks genuine empathy. Much of the language throughout the document speaks of dominance, establishing gold standards, and asserting control in the global AI race.
Yeah, I noticed that dominance language.
Right. And while these phrases might appeal to national pride and a competitive spirit, they do very little to emotionally connect with individual workers who might genuinely feel threatened by automation or simply overwhelmed by the sheer speed and complexity of technological change. This disconnect in tone can inadvertently undermine all the other well-intentioned efforts to build emotional buy-in and collective resilience. It frames AI as something to be conquered, rather than a force to be integrated collaboratively.
So how do we bridge these emotional gaps and strengthen the nation's collective emotional adaptability, ensuring our people are ready for this immense transformation?
Our recommendations are direct and actionable. First, we need to fund national resilience labs. These would be dedicated partnerships between government agencies, leading mental health institutions, and labor organizations, specifically designed to offer targeted AI transition support for workers and industries under significant disruption. This would provide direct, on-the-ground emotional and psychological assistance, including counseling, stress management, and peer support networks.
Dedicated labs for resilience. I like that.
Second, it's crucial to actively build psychological safety frameworks directly into government-funded retraining initiatives and workplace guidelines. This means ensuring that emotional well-being is tracked and prioritized right alongside skill acquisition, making it an integral part of the learning journey, not an afterthought. For example, by mandating anonymized feedback loops on emotional impact within all federally funded AI upskilling programs.
So track feelings alongside skills.
In a sense, yes. And finally, we strongly advocate for using storytelling and more human-centric communication in public discourse around AI. We need to frame AI not as an abstract, potentially threatening force, but as a powerful tool for collective human growth and augmentation. This shift in narrative appeals to courage, aspiration, and shared purpose, rather than just demanding compliance or instilling a sense of inevitability. Think of public campaigns showcasing success stories of human AI collaboration.
Changing the story around AI.
Absolutely. You can't simply program resilience into a neural net. It must be consciously and compassionately nurtured in humans.
That's a powerful thought, truly. If we want to lead the AI era with confidence and genuine progress, we must ensure our people don't just learn quickly. They must also feel deeply supported when the winds of change inevitably blow hardest. Because even the most sophisticated AI model cannot replace a human heart that refuses to give up, a spirit that remains resilient. Let's shift our focus now to behavioral adaptability. This dimension isn't about what we think or feel, but what we do. It asks, can we as a nation truly change how we act when circumstances demand it, when the environment shifts? I'm thinking of Charles Darwin, who in 1837 boarded the HMS Beagle not as the revolutionary scientist we know him to be, but as a relatively traditional naturalist, steeped in the prevailing theological views of his time. Yet he returned 5 years later, not just with observations, but with the seeds of a theory that would utterly upend biology itself. And what he realized was that evolution wasn't powered by sheer strength or individual intelligence alone. It was profoundly driven by a species' consistent, incremental ability to literally alter its behavior to fit its rapidly changing environment. It's about doing things differently.
That's spot on. Behavioral adaptability within the HAPI framework is precisely that. When the rules of the game change, can you fundamentally change how you play? It isn't just about what you think or what you feel about disruption. It's fundamentally about what you do differently when that disruption arrives. For national policies and the complex governmental apparatus they govern, this translates into tangible, observable shifts. How quickly government systems adopt new workflows, how fast organizations pivot their established processes, and how effectively leaders not just permit, but actively encourage behavioral learning and experimentation over habitual rigidity.
So it's about action and habits.
It is, at its core, about real-world action and sustained habit formation.
So how does America's AI action plan stack up in terms of behavioral adaptability? Is it truly fostering new ways of acting across the nation?
The plan scores a 12 out of 15 here.
12. Okay, back up a bit from the last one.
Yes, another strong showing, indicating a clear intent and some very good mechanisms for encouraging action-oriented change.
A pretty high score again. Where does the plan show real action and strength in encouraging these vital new behaviors, these new ways of doing things?
Well, the continued emphasis on regulatory sandboxes and AI centers of excellence is a prime example of the plan fostering behavioral adaptability. These initiatives aren't merely theoretical constructs. They are the policy equivalent of saying, try before you commit, learn by doing.
Yeah.
The plan dedicates specific resources, such as a $150 million fund in Section 2.2.1 for expanding these regulatory sandboxes where AI technologies can be tested in a controlled environment with flexible regulations.
So it enables trying new actions safely.
Exactly. This allows for rapid experimentation, provides crucial regulatory flexibility, and actively encourages the behavioral change for both developers and regulators, without waiting for layers of permission slips or years of legislative debate. This directly creates the kind of agile environment where new behaviors, new ways of working and interacting with AI can genuinely flourish and be iterated upon quickly.
Okay, that makes sense.
We also see significant strength in the pilot programs for rapid retraining. These aren't just educational programs in a theoretical sense. They are explicitly designed as behavioral laboratories. For example, the plan details pilot programs in 5 states, allocating resources for AI immersion boot camps that focus on project-based learning. By promoting these pilots through existing public and private channels, the plan creates feedback-rich ecosystems where old work habits, those less relevant to an AI-augmented future, can be shed.
And new ones can be practiced.
And new ones, critical for the AI age, like human-AI collaboration and data-driven decision-making, can be quickly embedded. It's about learning by doing, by experiencing new roles, and then solidifying those new practices through repetition and real-world application.
And the concept of flexible funding based on state regulations feels very much like a direct behavioral lever, doesn't it? It sounds like a clear incentive for action.
It absolutely is, and it's a very clever mechanism for driving behavioral change at a governmental level. The plan explicitly recommends adjusting federal funding for AI initiatives, for example, prioritizing states that have proactively reformed their occupational licensing laws to accommodate AI-driven job roles or simplified permitting processes for AI data centers.
So money talks, basically.
It's classic behavioral conditioning at the federal level, a clear carrot-and-stick approach. It's designed to strongly encourage flexibility and alignment in AI adoption across diverse states, nudging them towards more adaptive behaviors by tying financial support directly to their willingness to innovate and adapt their own regulatory and operational frameworks. These are all concrete steps towards fostering a culture of active behavioral change.
So lots of movement, lots of attempts to encourage new action and new ways of doing things.
Yeah.
That explains the 12. But 12 out of 15 means there are still areas where the plan hesitates or falls short in making these new behaviors truly pervasive and sticky. What are those gaps?
Well, one major gap is the absence of clear, measurable metrics for behavioral change itself. While the plan outlines what it encourages in terms of new practices, it's not clear what will actually be measured beyond outputs or outcomes. How will the government genuinely know if, for instance, a federal agency's behavior has truly adapted its internal processes?
Or if workers are just going through the motions.
Exactly. Or if workers are genuinely shifting their daily workflows versus simply checking boxes to comply with new regulations. Without specific behavioral-level metrics like tracking the adoption rate of new collaborative software tools or the frequency of cross-functional team interactions, it's incredibly hard to hold anyone accountable for actual, sustained behavioral transformation. You risk focusing on appearance rather than reality.
Right. Measuring the doing, not just the outcome.
Another weakness lies in what appear to be slow update loops across agencies. The plan seems to implicitly assume that individual agencies will naturally update their practices and protocols in response to AI. However, there's no explicit mandate for robust, regular behavioral accountability cycles built into the document. For example, there's no requirement for quarterly reports on internal process changes or mechanisms for rapid dissemination of best practices across different agencies.
So good ideas might get stuck in one agency.
Potentially. Without clear timelines, transparent mechanisms for reporting on internal behavioral shifts or consequences for inaction, institutional inertia can easily dull the edge of even the most ambitious policy. Ambition needs consistent, actionable follow-through to overcome deeply ingrained habits.
And then there's the critical question of making new behaviors and habits stick in the long term beyond initial pilot programs. That seems tough.
Precisely. The plan also shows a notable lack of specific habit formation strategies. It's one thing to run a successful pilot program to demonstrate that a new behavior can be done. It's another entirely to make that new behavior stick, to truly embed it into the daily operational fabric of thousands of government employees or millions of workers across the private sector. The plan doesn't articulate how these habits of innovation, things like daily stand-ups for cross-functional AI teams, agile work cycles for policy development, or consistent cross-functional collaboration, will be systematically encouraged, reinforced, and ultimately embedded into government operations.
So the how of making it routine is missing.
Largely, yes. Without this explicit focus on habit formation, new behaviors might just be temporary experiments rather than permanent, widespread changes that become second nature.
Okay, so how do we move beyond hesitation and ensure these new adaptive behaviors truly take root across the nation, becoming ingrained in how we operate?
We have concrete recommendations. First, we need to mandate quarterly behavioral scorecards for all federal agencies involved in AI implementation. These scorecards should require agencies to report not just on project outcomes, but explicitly on how AI implementation has changed their internal processes, team structures, and daily workflows. This shifts the focus to actionable, observable change within the system.
Make the behavioral changes visible and accountable.
Exactly. Second, we strongly suggest creating behavioral champions within government. These would be dedicated task force leads or senior executives within each department, specifically tasked with actively monitoring, mentoring, and supporting teams and departments through habit-building transitions. They would provide hands-on guidance and resources for embedding new ways of working, effectively acting as internal change agents.
People whose job it is to help new habits form.
Right. And third, we should more extensively use micro-incentives and nudges, applying principles from behavioral science. This means consciously designing systems to recognize small wins, to gamify the adoption of new AI-driven processes, and to publicly reward those who embrace change, thereby making the desired behaviors more appealing, less intimidating, and inherently more sticky across the workforce.
Use psychology to encourage the behavior.
Basically, yes. Behavior doesn't change simply because a policy says so. It changes when people consistently see new rewards, feel new pressures, or ideally develop new habits that make the old, less effective ways of working functionally obsolete.
That's so true. The America's AI Action Plan has certainly opened the door to behavioral transformation, and that's commendable. Now, it must build the scaffolding and the sustained reinforcement for these new habits to truly take root and flourish. Because when the winds of change blow hard, it's not just the tall trees that fall, it's often the ones that forgot how to sway with the breeze, the ones that became too rigid in their ways. Our fourth dimension brings us to social adaptability. This asks, can we learn to truly work together again, effectively and inclusively, in this complex, rapidly evolving AI-driven world? In the dense, often unpredictable forests of the Amazon, when sudden torrential flash floods hit, ant colonies don't panic, they don't vote, they don't debate or delay. Instead, they instinctively connect their tiny bodies together, forming these incredibly complex, buoyant, living rafts that float safely on the floodwaters.
Amazing.
Their collective survival isn't a function of individual strength or solitary genius. It's a profound testament to immediate collective flexibility and deep connection.
That image truly captures the profound essence of social adaptability within the API framework. It's about the innate ability of a group or society to collaborate effectively across differences, whether those are differences in background, expertise, culture, or even political affiliation. It's about adjusting quickly to new teams, new organizational structures, new cultural norms, and thriving in environments where the social chessboard is constantly rearranging itself.
So how we relate and work together.
Precisely. As artificial intelligence fundamentally rearranges our institutions, our workplaces, our daily lives, and even national boundaries, the critical question isn't just, can we build better machines or more efficient algorithms? It's much more profoundly, can we build better, more equitable, and more effective ways of working together as humans in this utterly new landscape that AI is shaping?
So where does America's AI Action Plan stand on this crucial measure of social cohesion and its capacity for collective adaptation?
For social adaptability, the plan scores an 8 out of 15.
8? Wow, that's the lowest score yet.
It is. Noticeably our lowest score yet, indicating significant areas that require more intentional focus.
That's quite a drop. What's contributing to this lower score, and where does the plan, despite the lower overall mark, still show some promising light in fostering social connection and collaboration?
Well, one area where it definitely shines is its strong advocacy for open source and open weight AI development. By vigorously promoting the open exchange of AI models, crucial tools, and research infrastructure, the plan inherently supports collaboration across highly diverse sectors, from nimble startups to cutting-edge academia, government agencies, and large enterprises.
The open approach helps connection.
It does. For example, Section 2.3.1 explicitly calls for a national repository of open-source AI models for public use. This commitment to openness naturally fosters cross-pollination of ideas, encourages shared problem-solving, and significantly reduces siloed thinking, which are all key components of robust social adaptability. It's a foundational step for fostering wider, more inclusive collaboration by leveling the playing field for access to knowledge.
Okay, so openness is a plus.
Similarly, the strong emphasis on partnerships for the National AI Research Resource, or NARAR, is another highly positive sign. NARAR, for those unfamiliar, is envisioned as a shared national research infrastructure, democratizing access to computing power, data, and testing environments for AI researchers across the country.
Sharing the tools.
Exactly. Encouraging public-private academic collaboration through NARAR, as detailed in Section 2.4.2, which mandates joint governance structures, clearly indicates a willingness to build shared ecosystems. This, in turn, helps to rapidly create a shared vocabulary, cultivates mutual respect among different stakeholders who might traditionally operate in isolation, and hopefully leads to more socially adaptive behavior as people from vastly different backgrounds learn to work towards common, ambitious AI goals.
And its stated intention to integrate AI adoption into multiple, vastly distinct domains like agriculture, defense, and manufacturing, each with their own deeply entrenched cultures, norms, and operational practices, could also be a powerful, almost forced driver of social adaptability, pushing new connections and cross-pollination.
Right, precisely. If executed well, supporting AI integration across such diverse fields, as outlined in Section 3.3.1, which targets specific sector-based AI challenges, could effectively force cross-disciplinary collaboration out of sheer necessity.
Necessity driving connection.
Necessity, as they say, is the mother of invention, but it's also often the mother of social adaptation.
Right.
It pushes people from different professional backgrounds with different ways of thinking to find common ground, to bridge their specific terminologies, and to fundamentally work together in new ways. These aspects certainly represent good first steps towards breaking down traditional silos and fostering more interconnected work.
So while the structural framework for collaboration appears to be present in some areas, openness, shared resources, cross-sector push, it's clearly not enough to earn a strong social adaptability score. Where does the plan fundamentally fall short, leading to that 8 out of 15?
A glaring and deeply concerning gap is the almost complete absence of explicit inclusion language. Despite AI being a technology that possesses the power to be either a profound equalizer or a deeply divisive force, potentially exacerbating existing societal inequalities, the plan makes no explicit reference to fostering inclusion, actively bridging social divides, or proactively supporting marginalized voices in AI development and deployment.
No mention of diversity or equity.
Very little explicitly tied to social adaptability. For example, there's no mention of specific initiatives to increase representation for underrepresented groups in AI research or industry, nor programs to address algorithmic bias impacting vulnerable communities. Social adaptability truly thrives when diversity is not just acknowledged, but actively embraced, championed, and woven into the very fabric of policy design and implementation, not merely avoided or assumed. Without this, we risk creating a future that disproportionately benefits only a select few, inadvertently exacerbating existing social fissures and undermining collective trust.
That feels like a major blind spot.
It does. Furthermore, there's a significant lack of specified interpersonal learning mechanisms. Social adaptability inherently improves when people share stories, when they learn from each other's successes and failures, and when they exchange insights in both informal and formal settings that build genuine human connection. But the plan largely lacks specific structures for sustained peer learning, for robust reciprocal mentorship programs that cross traditional boundaries, or for cross-sector knowledge exchange initiatives that specifically aim to deepen human connection and build those vital social bonds necessary for true collective adaptation.
So it's about sharing code, maybe, but not sharing experiences.
It focuses more on the intellectual sharing, perhaps, than on the relational connection.
And I noticed a particular tone in some of the language surrounding international cooperation within the plan. Does that impact social adaptability?
It absolutely does. The geopolitical framing dominates the collaboration narrative, particularly in the international sections of the plan. Much of the document focuses heavily on outcompeting rivals, specifically citing China's AI advancements and on exporting American tech and values.
The dominance language again.
Yes. And while national interest and competitiveness are obviously legitimate factors for any sovereign nation, this predominantly top-down competitive tone is less about fostering genuine global collaboration, mutual learning, and shared progress, and far more about asserting technological supremacy. This approach can, unfortunately, stifle the very mutual trust, open communication, and shared problem-solving spirit needed for true social adaptability on a global scale. It risks creating barriers and suspicion rather than building bridges of cooperation, which are essential for tackling global AI challenges that transcend national borders.
So how do we bridge these social divides, foster deeper connections, and ultimately build a more truly socially adaptable society in the age of AI? How do we lift that score from an 8?
To significantly improve social adaptability, our recommendations are multifaceted. First, we need to create comprehensive interdisciplinary fellowships. These programs would intentionally rotate AI researchers, policymakers, and frontline workers across different organizational roles and diverse sectors. This hands-on experience fosters empathy, mutual understanding, and breaks down preconceived notions by quite literally putting people in each other's shoes, allowing them to see challenges from different perspectives.
Walk a mile in their shoes, essentially.
Something like that, yes. Second, we should mandate cross-sector hackathons with specific diversity requirements. These events would intentionally pair vastly diverse groups, defense experts with civilian tech developers, agriculture specialists with urban community leaders, corporate innovators with grassroots organizations to collaboratively build both innovative AI tools and invaluable trust together. The goal is dual: to produce a tangible product and to forge stronger, more resilient interpersonal relationships and networks.
Building tools and trust.
Exactly. And third, it's absolutely crucial to build robust cultural feedback loops into every major AI initiative, policy, and program. This ensures that input is actively and systematically gathered from a truly diverse array of backgrounds, geographies, and communities, including marginalized voices. By doing so, we ensure that a wider spectrum of lived experiences and perspectives genuinely informs the development and implementation of AI policy, making it inherently more inclusive and socially adaptive.
Make sure everyone's voice is heard.
Fundamentally. In the end, no AI system, no matter how advanced, will save a team or a society that doesn't genuinely trust each other. No innovation will truly thrive or achieve its full potential in an ecosystem built on suspicion, competition at all costs, and deep-seated silos.
The America's AI Action Plan is bold, certainly, and its technological ambition is clear. But its social connective tissue, as you've highlighted, is currently quite thin. To truly lead in the AI era, to guide humanity through this transformation, we don't just need faster processors or more powerful algorithms. We desperately need stronger human bonds, more inclusive communities, and a deeper sense of collective purpose. Because the most adaptive systems aren't necessarily the most brilliant in isolation, they're always the most connected. All right, our final and arguably most inspiring dimension of the HAPI framework is growth potential. This isn't just about current achievements or what we've already built. It's about what a nation or its people can become. It's a measure of collective ambition, a nation's learning trajectory, its inherent grit, and the foundational infrastructure it puts in place to genuinely turn latent possibility into kinetic, real-world achievement for all its citizens. I'm profoundly reminded of President Kennedy's powerful declaration in 1961 that America would go to the moon, not because it was easy, but precisely because it was hard. At that pivotal moment, he wasn't just measuring existing GDP or current military strength, or even the immediate state of our infrastructure. He was measuring something far more profound. Growth potential, a nation's sheer audacious capacity to rise to an unprecedented, almost impossible challenge and fundamentally transform itself in the process.
That vision is indeed the perfect lens through which to view growth potential in the HAPI framework. It's inherently not static. It captures the underlying ambition, the collective learning trajectory, the resilience and grit of a people, and crucially, the fundamental infrastructure that can effectively turn latent human and societal possibility into tangible, kinetic achievement. So, the question we pose to America's AI Action Plan is, are we truly laying down a comprehensive infrastructure for future greatness, for genuine, widespread human flourishing, or are we perhaps just polishing past glories and optimizing for short-term gains?
And the score for growth potential is a strong 12 out of 15.
12. Back up again.
So where is the American AI Action Plan truly setting us up for future greatness, really investing in what we collectively can become? What specific initiatives speak to this high potential?
Well, the plan's robust national focus on AI literacy and comprehensive workforce retraining is a massive foundational driver of growth potential. It doesn't just acknowledge that widespread disruption is coming, it actively and explicitly prepares the entire nation for it. For instance, Section 3.1.1 earmarks $1 billion for a national AI upskilling initiative, funding new university degrees, vocational programs, and online certification.
$1 billion is serious investment.
It is. From fundamental AI education woven into K-12 curricula for youth to robust, sector-specific skilled trades retraining programs for adult workers, there's a clear, pervasive belief threaded throughout the document that the American worker isn't obsolete, but perhaps currently underutilized, capable of immense new contributions. This represents a high-potential mindset, viewing people as dynamic assets to be cultivated rather than static problems to be managed, fostering long-term adaptability and expanding future capabilities across all demographics.
Investing in people's potential.
The commitment to AAR, the National AI Research Resource, and strategically democratizing access to compute for researchers is another profoundly important strength. This demonstrates that the vision isn't just about empowering a few elite labs in Silicon Valley or large tech companies. It's explicitly about igniting thousands of intellectual sparks across the entire nation, from rural universities to independent researchers. Section 2.4.1, for example, commits to providing free or subsidized access to high-performance computing for eligible academic and nonprofit researchers.
Spreading the opportunity to innovate.
Precisely. Growth potential truly thrives when access to cutting-edge tools, vast data sets, and powerful computing resources is widespread and equitable, enabling a much broader base of diverse talent to innovate, experiment, and contribute to the AI frontier, unleashing latent genius.
And the fiscal incentives for private upskilling, like the tax guidance under Section 132, which expands what companies can deduct for AI training investments, seem to demonstrate a very mature and practical understanding of how growth works at a ground level. It's not just a top-down mandate.
Absolutely. It reflects a very mature understanding that you can't simply legislate adaptability or innovation into existence from Washington, D.C. Instead, you can strategically fund and incentivize the conditions for it to grow organically, bottom up, within the private sector. By significantly reducing the financial burden on companies to upskill their workforce in AI-relevant areas, the plan helps create an economic environment where continuous learning and skill evolution are not just desirable, but economically viable and attractive. This fosters a perpetual culture of improvement and positions the entire workforce for continuous growth.
Making it easier for businesses to invest in their people.
And finally, the significant investment in foundational data infrastructure for AI-driven science truly sets the stage for future growth potential. By supporting the curation and development of high-quality scientific data sets, like the proposed National Open Science Data Repository in Section 2.5.3, and establishing automated experimentation labs in critical research areas, the government isn't just reacting to current technological trends, it's actively scaffolding future breakthroughs in critical fields like biology, advanced material science, and clean energy.
Yeah.
This is the deep, fertile soil where moonshots, the truly transformative and unexpected innovations, can organically grow and flourish for decades to come.
Building the foundation for future discoveries. Okay, so we're talking about a significant forward-looking investment in future capacity, which is incredibly positive. But where does this strong growth narrative, this vision of what we can become, still waver? Where are the blind spots in that 12 out of 15 score?
Well, one key area is that the growth narrative remains largely focused more on technological triumph than on holistic human flourishing. While the plan certainly talks about American jobs and worker transitions, the emotional core of the document, its driving narrative and ultimate vision, is predominantly about technological supremacy and global leadership in AI, rather than deeply centered on comprehensive human flourishing and well-being.
So more about the tech than the people experiencing it.
It can feel that way sometimes. A more explicitly human-centric vision one that clearly articulates how AI will enhance the quality of life, not just the GDP, would likely amplify public buy-in, foster deeper trust, and catalyze much stronger, more sustained long-term social and individual growth. It's about balancing the what we build with the who we become.
That makes sense.
Secondly, there's an uneven commitment to continuous learning frameworks. While the initial investments in education and retraining are commendably robust, the plan says relatively little about ongoing, lifelong development pathways beyond these initial programs. We're talking about things like standardized, stackable credentials that are universally recognized, comprehensive lifelong learning dashboards for individuals, or national digital learning records that track an individual's evolving skills over decades.
So the support might drop off after the initial training.
There's less structure outlined for the long haul. Without these enduring frameworks for continuous skill acquisition and recognition, the initial boost from the retraining programs might not translate into sustained adaptive growth for individuals throughout their entire careers. The plan helps with the sprint, but less with the marathon.
And it sounds like the plan's success metrics themselves might be a bit too narrow, potentially overlooking crucial aspects of national potential. Is that right?
Yeah, precisely. There's no North Star for holistic human potential embedded in the plan's evaluation framework. The plan primarily measures success by traditional macroeconomic metrics like GDP growth, the number of scientific breakthroughs, and enhancements to national security, all undeniably important. But it conspicuously omits clear metrics related to overall human well-being, the equity of opportunity across all segments of society, or the adaptive quality of life for its citizens.
So we might hit the tech goals, but miss the human ones.
It's a risk. A nation's true potential isn't just industrial or military might. It's profoundly personal and collective, intrinsically tied to the thriving, adaptable, and equitable flourishing of its entire population. Without these broader metrics, we might achieve technological goals, but miss the broader human imperative.
So how do we maximize this incredible growth potential and ensure it truly serves the human element? Ensuring that our nation's true potential is unleashed across every dimension. Get that 12 up to a 15.
To maximize growth potential, we recommend, first, establishing a dedicated human potential office under the Department of Labor. This office would be specifically focused on tracking and fostering career adaptability, lifelong skill evolution, and job satisfaction, moving beyond traditional employment rates. It's about measuring our collective capacity to change and grow, not just static job numbers.
An office focused on potential itself.
Second, we should urgently create a national lifelong learning passport. This would be a digital, portable, and ideally AI-curated record of an individual's evolving skills, their learning goals, and their recognized potential. This makes personal growth a tangible, nationally recognized asset throughout their entire career journey, empowering individuals to navigate change.
A portable record of your growth.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And third, it's vital to deeply integrate worker potential metrics into national economic planning. This means fundamentally linking our national fiscal strategy directly with long-term personal and community growth, ensuring that economic policy actively supports and measures human adaptability, continuous learning, and flourishing as core indicators of national success.
Make human potential part of the economic equation.
Exactly. Growth potential isn't static. It's a dynamic, evolving bet, a strategic wager that if we invest wisely and comprehensively today in the right areas and with the right focus, the harvest of human ingenuity and resilience will surprise us tomorrow, far exceeding our current expectations.
The America's AI Action Plan absolutely makes that bet, and that's a significant and commendable step. But for it to truly pay off, for that harvest to be bountiful for everyone, we must fundamentally stop treating people as merely resources to be optimized for the machine. And instead, we must start seeing them as vibrant gardens to be nurtured, capable of incredible, continuous, and self-directed growth. Because truly transformative moonshots don't just begin with advanced rockets. They begin always with an unshakable belief in human potential. Okay, we've journeyed through the America's AI Action Plan with the Human Adaptability and Potential Index, the API framework, as our detailed compass. We've dissected its ambitions and its oversights, and now it's time to bring it all together to truly understand the landscape of our collective adaptability as a nation entering the AI age.
Indeed. Let's recap those scores. We started with cognitive adaptability, the capacity to think on our feet and learn. It scored a robust 13 out of 15.
Strong start.
Right. That indicates a clear flexibility in vision and a strong willingness for policy experimentation, but also highlighted a clear need for better internal learning loops and more agile metrics within government itself. Then we moved to emotional adaptability, our resilience in the face of chaos. That came in at 9 out of 15.
The first dip?
Yeah. The plan commendably acknowledges worker disruption, which is crucial, but it currently lacks the depth in mental wellness support, psychological safety provisions, and empathetic communication needed for true human resilience amidst unprecedented change. Next, behavioral adaptability, our ability to change how we act. This landed at a strong 12 out of 15.
Back up.
This shows the plan is effectively enabling change through powerful mechanisms like regulatory sandboxes and incentives, which are great first steps. However, it needs stronger long-term habit-building strategies to ensure these new behaviors truly stick and become pervasive across institutions. Social adaptability, our capacity to work together effectively, was our lowest score at an 8 out of 15.
The lowest point, yeah.
While it champions open-source sharing, it's critically deficient in explicit diversity, inclusion, and comprehensive cross-sector collaboration strategies, risking the exacerbation of existing social divides in the AI era. And finally, growth potential, our ambition and infrastructure for future flourishing. This scored an impressive 12 out of 15.
Finishing strong.
We see strong forward-looking investments in education, science, and vital infrastructure, which are fantastic foundations. However, the human flourishing aspect, the individual's holistic potential, needs to be more explicitly and centrally prioritized in its overarching narrative and metrics.
So if we add all that up, the America's AI Action Plan earns a total API score of 75 out of 100. Which in our assessment we're categorizing as strong but opportunistic.
5. Okay.
It's a commendable starting point, and as we discussed earlier, any step forward in this complex journey is a good step. This isn't about failure, it's about seeing the path ahead.
That's a truly balanced view, and it's essential to emphasize that positive outlook. The plan is undeniably bold. It sets incredibly high ambitions. It makes substantial bets on innovation, democratizing access to powerful tools, and clearly prepares the nation for strategic competition in the intense global AI landscape.
And wants to move fast.
Yes, it demonstrates a clear commitment to moving fast, to seize this moment. But here's the core tension, the crucial insight HAPI allows us to see. The plan risks inadvertently confusing sheer speed for truly sustainable direction. It risks equating technological dominance with genuine, widespread human flourishing.
Speed isn't the same as progress for everyone.
Exactly. Without intentional, explicit, and continuous investment in adaptability, not just in the advanced tools and the raw compute power, but fundamentally in people themselves, we run a serious existential risk. We could be building a technologically advanced future that ultimately no one is truly ready to live in or thrive within. Not because we lacked compute, not because we lacked algorithms, but because we lacked compassion in design, because we meticulously coded everything except ourselves, our human capacity for continuous evolution.
That's a powerful and, frankly, quite a sobering statement. So where must we go from here beyond this strong but opportunistic 75 out of 100 starting point to truly become a HAPI nation, a nation where human adaptability is as prioritized as technological advancement?
We need to fundamentally measure what truly matters: adaptability scores, human potential metrics, emotional resilience indices. These, and not just traditional productivity numbers or GDP, must enter our national conversation and become core key performance indicators for progress.
Change what we measure.
Second, we must actively design for human flourishing, not merely for technological efficiency. This means resilience labs, continuous lifelong learning frameworks, and comprehensive well-being metrics should be prioritized just as highly as technical aspects like model interpretability or raw computational efficiency.
Design for people, not just systems.
And finally, we must lead with compassionate intelligence. A truly strong nation in the AI era is not defined simply by the number of patents it holds or the technological prowess of its machines. It's defined by its people's collective ability to reinvent themselves, to learn and to adapt together through all the profound changes that lie ahead. This is the ultimate competitive advantage.
Here's where it gets really interesting, thinking about that collective ability.
Think about it like this. The profound adaptability of a thriving beehive doesn't come from a single brilliant bee or a rigid blueprint dictated from above. It comes from the fluid, decentralized, and collectively flexible behavior of the entire colony. How they collaboratively build new structures, how they dynamically cool themselves, how they allocate roles on the fly, and how they collectively adapt to changing seasons and unforeseen threats.
The hive mind adapts together.
National AI policy, too, must evolve beyond being just a rigid document. It must intentionally become an entire ecosystem, flexible, responsive, and built not just to dominate the future, but to genuinely adapt with it, fostering resilience in every part of its human and technological fabric, just like that beehive.
And as we close this deep dive, consider this powerful thought drawn from the story of evolution itself. The dinosaurs had sheer size, dominating the land for millions of years. The saber-toothed tiger had incredible strength and ferocity. The humble cockroach had undeniable grit and persistence, surviving countless extinctions. But the crow, clever, profoundly collaborative, emotionally resilient, and incredibly adaptable in its behaviors and social structures, still thrives, enduring because it consistently learned to live with change, not just survive it.
America's AI Action Plan gives us many of the tools. HAPI gives us the crucial lens, the human-centric compass, to understand how to use them for the greater human good, to ensure we build a future for all of us.
The rest really is up to us, to lead not with fear of the unknown, but with foresight that illuminates potential. Not for dominance over others, but for the inherent dignity and flourishing of every individual. Not for raw power, but for every person's boundless potential to grow, learn, and adapt in this remarkable new world. Because the future isn't simply something we build. More profoundly, it's something we collectively, continuously adapt.